Then you need to receive the presentation. I see there. There's room there. No. There's another chair there. But moderation is maybe better to be here or right.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, there is a button here you need to press.
Just be careful. You can sit or you can stand, whichever way you prefer. Okay.
Yes, I can sit.
You can sit. Just watch out. It's a flimsy chair.
But it's okay. I will
Wait.
stand. It's easy to.
You can.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. It's no need of chair.
Speak into the microphone. Okay.
Okay.
I'll
Thank
give
you.
you a signal and just put these on so you can hear everyone in the room.
Okay. After Sandro, you will present
Some.
the first Sandro.
But then we will have a break.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just introduce Sandro with the software. First software and so.
Okay.
1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2.
It's not on.
But can you?
Who speaks first? Okay. I will give you a signal when we are live and you start. Okay.
Okay. Hi, good morning, and welcome everybody for this IPCC session on inventory software. My name is Mazhar, and I am a co-chair of task force on GHG inventories. Okay, thank you. Today we are going to present the salient features of the IPCC inventory software. Basically, this software was launched more than a decade ago in 2012, and over the period of time, based on the users' feedback, and requirements of the parties to the UNFCCC regarding reporting. The software has been continuously updated, and its latest version will be presented today. Basically, this IPCC software is fully aligned with the IPCC GHG inventory guidelines, and it also serves the purpose of reporting requirements of the Paris Agreement of the UNFCCC. Recently, we have updated this software for interoperability, and a workshop was also held, attended by the 84 countries. So we can easily transfer the data of IPCC software to the UNFCCC's enhanced transparency framework. With this, I would like to invite Dr. Sandro. He is with the technical support unit of the TFI based in Japan. So, Sandro, over to you.
Hello? Yes, now I'm on. Thank you very much, Mazar. The presentation today is in two portions. The first will be slides. Then Lisa will give a live demonstration on the use of the interoperability with the software. Let's start with my presentation. Yes, okay. So the IPCC software is supporting the transparency, so the reporting of information by parties since the onset of the system. You see, the first guidelines were produced in 1995, but the authors were started to work on the guidelines in 1991. So even before the convention was set, and they immediately decided to produce the guidelines and a software to support the implementation of the guidelines, because the need to support the capacity of countries has been always a clear need in IPCC. So the guidelines are used in the UNFCCC for every estimates of anthropogenic emissions in the greenhouse gas inventories, in the NDCs, in the Article 6 activities, in the CDM activities, and so on. And are also used by a number of different protocols as a main resource of methodological information and default emission factors. This is an important element, but we are not going to present on the IPCC emission factor database now. We will present at 12:30 on it. Sorry, I need to familiarize with the, okay. So you see, originally the software was first released in 2012, was just based on tier 1, so it was just the basic method. But now, because of the needs to support the enhanced transparency framework, we populated the software with all the IPCC methodologies and approaches. And very important, the software is interoperable with the UNFCCC reporting tools. So you produce a greenhouse gas inventory into the software, you export in a JSON file, Lisa will demonstrate this, and then you import in the UNFCCC ETF, and the job is done. So it's complete today. The software is easy to use, is very much supported. We are not going to show you, but we have guidebooks that teach you step by step how to use the software. And then is an essential element, we think, for many countries for dealing with the reporting requirements under the UNFCCC. Ecco, I say it's not very... yeah, so which is complete because all the methods are there, is pre-populated with all the IPCC defaults. So the user that just use the default just select them from the drop-down menus. It implements the AR5 global warming potential, but the user may input any metrics he prefer. So you may also produce the inventory in different metrics as you wish. And there are the cross-cutting elements, the uncertainty analysis and the key category analysis. I should say that this is an area where we are still work to do. So next year possible. And of course, he cover all sector, all categories of a greenhouse gas inventory, according with the IPCC categorization and also UNFCCC categorization, which are not identical. So, as a minimal, you produce with the software, the starting point is always for a country is to produce a tier one emission, estimate, because they tell you what is the most important area of emission, which are the most important sources, and then guide you in the evolution of the software. Sorry, of the inventory. The inventory is a continuous work in progress. You never finish to work on the inventory. When you have done one, you understand that you need to do better for the next one, and so on and so on and so on, which is good for your career because you have a job forever. Of course, the use of the software, very important, as is read, avoids that you do miscalculation. Methodological errors are not there. If there is an error, you say it's a PCC gap, so ask IPCC. And we fix it. If we find a bug, we fix it in a week. But usually we are quite good there. There are data managers that helps in the use of the software because often you have some factors like the fuel, carbon content of fuels you use many times, the calorific value. Then this information are pre-stored in a data manager. What you input once and then you use it many times. These avoid a lot of errors of just input. Input errors are not banal, are frequent. I always, when I do, I work mostly on land representation. Always I do some input error, but likely the software show me that there is an error and then I correct it. Okay, and then of course you have all the estimates prepared for the Paris Agreement. You don't need to do anything else than export and import. Sorry. I guess it needs to be improved. Okay. Given it provides all tiers, the software is adaptable to any national circumstances. Tier 1 is designed to be effective under any national circumstances. Even the poorest country, the country with the lowest data availability and capacity, is expected to be able to produce a tier 1 inventory. And then, of course, you may replace a PCC default with your country-specific values. So you may implement tier 2 and tier 3 with no problem. The software allows to work to have a multiple user working at the same time. Just you need to put the database in the intranet, or it may also work data sharing. So each user use the software in his computer and then produce some files, an XML file to transfer the data to the super user called, that is the one that collects all this information. It's a wonderful system to archive information because it has a number of options where you may put notes for each single input data, and it stays there. One of the main problems for developing countries is the memory of the inventory. Because it was done on a project level basis. Close the project, everything disappears. No, if you have the database, everything is there. Okay, and then of course, once you have produced it, you are confident that the estimates fit all the reporting requirements of UNFCCC and the quality requirements of IPCC. The famous TAC principle: transparency, accuracy, completeness, consistency, and then comparability. Okay. We should try to improve this. Anyhow, let's go here. As I said, the software allows you to estimate anthropogenic emission for all your needs. And then you may have, in the software, you may have all these elements together. You have the national greenhouse gas inventory, of course, but integrated in the national greenhouse gas inventory, you may have all your mitigation actions that you designed for UNDC. You may have your Article 6.2 activities. You may have your Article 6.4 activities. All the estimates will be then consistent with the IPCC guidelines and then corresponding to the requirements of UNFCCC. So the integrated approach is very important. The software works at subdivision level. So Okay, and we are not going to see here, but in the next presentation at 12:30. So the architecture, the software is based on Windows, Microsoft Access. This means that it doesn't run as it is in Apple computer. This is one of the main shortcomings of the software. We are aware, but it's a matter of funding. Use Microsoft Net Framework as an interface between the database and the data enter. Is password protected? Please don't lose the password because there is not a mechanism to retrieve the password. We don't do this service. You see the data manager. These are the various elements. So there are blocks. There are the worksheets where you enter the data manager where you enter the data. Then there are functionality to administrate the country. You select the country, you select the years. Selecting the country already is a pre-selection of the IPCC defaults that the software will show you, because some of the defaults are geographically based. It is a wonderful data archive system, and last but not least is interoperable with the UNFCCC, which is the main goal of this presentation. Next slide. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, that is not working very well. This is the interoperability, and so you may use. This is an example, a very basic example. These are even you don't see maybe very well. Energy balances from UN Statistical Division. Each country in the world produces these energy balances for the UN. And starting from these energy balances, you may estimate a tier 1 estimates of greenhouse gas emissions in our software, and then this capture, doing this, just you do 70% of emissions are done in average. Some countries, the follow sector is more important, but in average, just doing this simple exercise covers 70% of your emissions. So the most important. It is very, very easy. And then you create the CRT data that Lisa will show you, the UNFCCC CRT data, and you export those. Okay, next. The software compile 60 tables, help you to compile the 60 UNFCCC tables for each year. So a developed country now almost need to compile 2,000 of these tables. You imagine being compiling 2,000 tables in the online tool or just with a click exporting those from the software. The version that we are going to release, we have the version, but we had no time to test. We are sorry, so we didn't. The plan was to release here at COP. We won't. We will need some few weeks, also because the UNFCCC is doing some tweaking to their software for the CRT reporting. So we want to be sure that the two software still communicate properly among them. The main improvement of the software of the version that we are going to release anyhow before the end of the year, version 294, is that allow you to select how to import the data. Now, importing the data from one user to the other user means that you overwrite whatever you have in your inventory. This was not okay in case we have some countries that are federal countries. They have a regional state inventories. They need to compile all those. So now you select if you want just to add the new information, you want to replace, you want to update. So there are 4 options there to manage how the data are imported. This is extremely important. It's a big improvement. Then 12 categories. So one of the main problems, all countries, the main problem of the countries in an inventory is the land representation is first, but the second is F gases. Because to ensure mass conservation while applying IPCC methodology is not so banal at all. So we built a new, we built the constraint of mass balance into the software. And this will be a very important tool also for developed countries, not just for the developing, because it will ensure mass conservation. So you will estimate emissions according with your activity data, which is extremely important, I should say. And then there is one important additional feature, which is the flexibility. The software now will produce the flexibility table, and the user may download the flexibility table, add to his need if they want or not. up to them. Okay, so downloading the software, this is a QR code. But anyhow, you go on our web page. It's important what very important elements. There are two installation packages, one for 64 bits and the other for 32. Please, there is a decision tool there. There is a PDF document with a decision tree. Please do it. Because most of the questions that I receive is just, I got a strange error. See, that strange error means that you installed the wrong version. Please disinstall and install the correct one. And then there is the super user, but that's not important. Okay. The user journey, I give the floor to Lisa. That will go from here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, I'll try. No, thank you very much, Sandro. And after Sandro talked about all of the benefits of the IPC software, we wanted to take you through a journey of how it would look for a user. I'm going to do it from the perspective of a party because I do think that this interoperability with the UNFCCC reporting tool is a huge benefit. Many countries, one of the big challenges you will hear is how do you fill out the CRT tables? And when you use the software and this interoperability function, you don't have to know how to do it. All you have to do is upload to the software and the data go to the correct place in the CRT. So after you have downloaded the software on the computer, you want to have the resources available with you so you know what you're doing. Of course, the key is the guidelines. The software doesn't replace the guidelines. You should read the 2006 guidelines. However, with that said, I mean, if you have some gray areas, you're not so sure, the calculations are all embedded in the software. And so if there is some confusion, I think that one of the big places to help you in understanding the guidelines is understanding what are the activity data that you need to put into the software. Because that no matter what tool you use, where you go, you need this basic underlying activity data. No, it's okay. I couldn't see what he said. Okay. The second piece of documentation that you would want next to you is the guidebook. Sandro mentioned that we have guidebooks for most sectors and then also a general guidebook on how to use the software. And it really is a tool that you have the software in front of you, and then the guidebook will tell you exactly how to find what type of activity data to put in, how do you enter in the mission factors, and relationships between categories. Which worksheet do you use if you're doing tier 1? Which do you use if you're doing tier 3? So this is all very helpful. And then you'll go to each category. On the left-hand side, you can see the category tree. You consider all of the categories that you have in the country. And then you just go down. The blue ones are those categories from the 2006 IPCC guidelines. They're mandatory under the MPGs. The ones that are in magenta are from the 2019. It doesn't work very well. You're right. The ones from magenta are from the 2019 refinement. They have been added to the software for interoperability with the CRT. The ones that are in lilac are from the wetlands supplement. That is encouraged for the MPG reporting. And then you can also see some trend information. So this is an example of the worksheets that Sandro was talking about for energy. So typically in the software, first you will add in a worksheet, the activity data. And all of the worksheets are built around the circumstances of the category. So for energy, for stationary combustion, you have 2 worksheets. And as Sandra mentioned, for many countries, this can capture almost 70% of emissions. You can disaggregate it by fuel. You can break it into subdivisions. So you can do national, whole country. You could do for a facility level. You could do for a project. So this is what gives you great flexibility and adaptable to national circumstances. You add in the activity data, and it will show you, for this case, it will have the total activity data. There's a place for notes in the bottom. Sandra mentioned it's a good place. The software can be used as an archive. Here's one example where you can add notes. For example, maybe your source of activity data. There's a place on the right-hand side where you can add notes. So there's multiple places to document what you have done for the next inventory. Then for stationary combustion, there's only 1 second worksheet, again, capturing all tiers, tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. It carries over some information from the first worksheet. And then there's a function here for energy where you can add information on the technology. This is not necessary for tier 1, so you can just put general unspecified. But if you have more information, the software is flexible to allow you to enter that and do a higher tier. The emission factors are available in dropdowns, so you don't have to know them. If you're just doing a tier 1, you could select them, or you can enter in your own country-specific information. So you would do that for every single category as a user, every category in your national inventory. I would say that you can also do it depending on where you are in your country. You could do it for some categories. For example, maybe you're going to use FX for reporting of flexibility for the F gases, so you wouldn't use those. But for all the categories that are occurring in your country, you enter in the information. So you've done that. You're ready to start preparing your file for the UNFCCC. And there's a function at the top on the export import, and you can export to the UNFCCC CRT. I'll show you that in the live demonstration in a second. You basically create a data set, and what this is doing is it's starting to put together the data that you want to transmit to the UN. You select the data set, select the years that you would like to prepare the data set for, and the system will ask you, would you like to perform data compilation? And what it will do at that point is it will start aggregating or compiling all of the information from each category into a visualized CRT. We wanted to be able to visualize the CRT in the software because you want to be able to see what information you are transmitting to the UN and what it will look like in the final CRT tables. And then there's this open tables function. Here's the visualized CRT. And in this step, you can start putting all of the additional information that the UN requires, like explanations for notation keys, information on documentation, if you're going to use FX, flexibility for a certain category. All of this can be done in the IPCC software and then ready for your transmission to the UNFCCC. I didn't mention it earlier, but I should have. At the bottom of each slide, I've tried to put the relevant documentation that we have on our website, because we do have a lot of step-by-steps, so you can see how to get this information. So once you are, you've added all your comments, you've done everything you want to do, you're ready to prepare the file for the JSON. And there's a function in the lower, wrong way. There's a function in the software to generate the JSON. You can generate the JSON for your entire inventory. You can generate it for a table, for a sector. You can even generate it for it went crazy. Generate it for a single category. Whatever you choose to submit to the UN, you can generate a file to do that. I want to skip that one for a minute. So you have your JSON file. It's a JSON document on your computer. You then log into the UNFCCC ETF reporting tool, and you have a number of functions, and one of them is to upload a file. And you would select that, and then you would just upload your JSON file that you have saved to your computer. You will have to go through a series of version settings that you want to be very careful in these version settings, because you've done really all the work in the IPCC software. So you don't want to select a version setting that somehow overwrites what you've done. So there's guidance clear on how to set these version settings, but the work has already been done in the IPCC software. Then you want to QA/QC. You want to check. That's really the one thing that you do have to do in the UNFCCC. You want to check. QA, look through, you can compare, for example, what the generated CRTs look like versus what you had in the IPCC software. I can assure you all of us have tested this many, many times, but you want to, as good practice, do the same kind of a QA/QC and make sure that the information is where you expect it to be. And then in the UNFCCC, you'll submit your inventory. I mean, that is the official platform for submitting to the UN. So it's important to remember that. So this final step will be done through the UNFCCC reporting tool. You can go back and forth between the IPCC and the UNFCCC. If you've realized that you made a mistake, you just go back into the IPCC software and regenerate the JSON file. You want to make those changes in the IPCC because, as Sandra said, that is your archive and your basis for starting the next inventory. So back. I'll do the live demonstration from the back very quick. Oh, I need this. I can. Thanks. Can you still hear me? Okay. Thanks. So I'm going to quickly go through the software, probably only like 10 minutes to show you just to highlight. I know it's hard to see, but hopefully everyone is close enough to a TV to be able to see it. But this is an image of what the software looks like itself. After you've downloaded it, you have here on the left-hand side the category tree that I was mentioning. These are all the categories from the IPCC guidelines. And this will allow you to calculate emissions for all categories that are required for UN reporting. This is the example of petroleum refining as an energy category for stationary. It has the two worksheets I showed you, fuel consumption data and the fuel combustion emissions. I'm just going to quickly add some activity data in so that you can see what's done. I add the consumption, the units. Let's say I have 1,000. And there's my total consumption is 1,000 terajoules. I'm quickly just going to add in the combustion related, the emission factors. This is a plus. I'm pretty sure you can't see it, but don't forget it because this is another question that we get a lot. But there's a plus here for each subdivision. Then you would enter in the emission factor information. You can see the activity data from the previous slide carried over, as I mentioned. I'm just going to say that I have no information. I'm using a tier 1. You can either calculate or specify your emission factor. I'm just going to specify it, but you select from the defaults. If you're doing a tier 1, if you have more information, you can overwrite it with your own country-specific value. Whether there's capture, I'm not going to say there's any capture. I'm going to select the default for methane. Really, all of these defaults, they're at your fingertips. So you can go into the IPCC guidelines themselves and understand a little bit more about the derivation of the defaults or the sources of these defaults, but they are available here. So that's all it takes to estimate the emissions for petroleum refining. And if you look at pulp and paper, you look at iron and steel, you look at chemicals, electricity generation, it's the same two worksheets. So I think it really is it helps countries a lot, I think, in preparing this greenhouse gas inventory. When you're ready to prepare the CRT data set, there's this menu at the top. You can, up here under export import, then export your export to the UNFCCC CRT. Sorry, I had already done it, so let me do it again. So here's the data set manager. That will pull up a data set manager. And in that, you can have many, many data sets that you're working with. I have already have one here, but I'm going to start a new one to show you the process. I'm going to create a new data set called COP29. Again, here you can do it for any number of years that you want. You don't necessarily ultimately have to transmit all of these years to the UN, but you can start preparing it in the IPCC software. I'm going to say save, and then the system is asking whether I want to do the data compilation. I say yes. And what it's doing at this point is it's taking all of your activity data and all of your emissions from the underlying worksheets, and it's putting it in the proper place in the UNFCCC reporting tables. You might think that this is a relatively simple exercise, but I can assure you also that it's not so simple. That, for example, AFFLU. AFFLU is one category in the IPCC guidelines, but it's split into two sectors in the UNFCCC. So the system right now is doing that. And I have a lot of data in here, so it's doing it for now. I probably should have only done 1 year, but it's doing it for all the years. The guidebooks have the mapping. If you want to see how we've mapped the the IPCC software to the UNFCCC, you can go into each sector guidebook and you will see the mapping, how it's done from one worksheet or from one software to another. Yeah, I should have picked 1 year, not 5. But it's showing you that it's compiling all of the information. So one more 30 seconds, 20 seconds. The guidebooks, we have all of the guidebooks available except for land and part of IPPU. The rest of IPPU should be available shortly and land will be coming. So data compilation is finished. And then I can select the data set that I want to look at, and I select open tables down here at the bottom. I want to say one thing. There's also the generate JSON file button on this screen. I could generate the JSON right now, and I could upload it into the UNFCCC, and all of the activity data would populate and all of the emissions would populate already, even if you did nothing else. I mean, I would encourage you to do everything else to have a complete CRT, but with those 2 steps, you have a JSON ready that could import into the UNFCCC. So you open it, and here's where you can see the visualized CRTs. Here's the energy sector. You can do any of the years. You can see all the years have transferred. Here's the petroleum refining number that I entered for crude oil. For liquid fuels, that has transferred. I can see agriculture. My database is already full, so I have the emissions estimates for all the sectors, LULUCF. All the tables are there. So those of you who are familiar with the CRT, this will all look very familiar because it's where your worksheet data have gone into the CRTs. And then at this point, like I said, if you did nothing else, these activity data and emission factors emissions would transfer. For complete reporting in the UNFCCC, you have to provide other information though. For example, if you have not estimated, here you'll see I have NEs. The software has automatically populated not estimated if I didn't enter any information. Well, according to the UN, you need to provide an explanation for that. So you can do that in the software here. If you select either one cell or multiple cells and you right click, you say edit. And then here, under this box, you can put your explanation for why it's not estimated. Not available. And I click save. That information will transfer to the UN for CRT table 9. If you don't like the default that the software has placed, for example, in your country, it's for gaseous fuels. It's not that it's not estimated. Maybe you've included it under liquid fuels. You can change the notation key. And according to the UN, you have to provide information on why you've done that and where the emissions and the activity data are included. And you can also do that by right-clicking and selecting IE and providing the explanation according to CRT Table 9. Another feature here, Table 3 of the UN requires you to provide information on which method you've used, Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, and emission factor. That information can be provided here. So for example, if I want to explain which method, I can do it for the whole table. I select one or more cells, I right click, select edit. I want to apply what I'm about to say to all cells that I've highlighted, and I used Tier 1. So this is allowing you to complete the information for summary table 3. Click save and it's populated. That will now transfer to the UNFCCC CRT. You can, if you have activity data, for example, that are confidential. Say I don't want to say how much liquid fuels are in my heat plants. You can right click on this. You can change this notation key, this to a C notation key. This means that this activity data will not transfer to the UN. You can see it, it stays in your software, but it's not included in the JSON file that will go to the UNFCCC. So there's a lot of further explanation on how to handle confidentiality in the guidebooks. I would say one other thing is a couple other things. We have this update mode here. This is a new feature for if anyone was in previous sessions, we didn't have this feature. This update mode lets you make every change that I just talked about for notation keys, method, and emission factors. It allows you to make that change for 1 year or for all the years in the time series. So this was, I think, a big help for getting the time series consistency. So you can do that there. Refresh values. If say I forgot something. I've done the QA/QC here, and I realize, oh, for petroleum refining, I have carbon capture. So you could go back into petroleum refining, go into the emissions, and I'm going to add that I have carbon capture here. I save it. I go back to the CRTs. And then I go to refining, liquid fuels, and I refresh the value. I did it again, but it will refresh the value. So you can toggle back and forth between the worksheets and the CRT to help prepare, to help you if you found any errors. You can see that the carbon capture value has updated. Finally, at the bottom, there's a legend. These are the footnotes from the CRT, so you can see if there's any clarifying information you need, as well as IPCC Inventory Software notes that give you some tips for how the mapping has been done, or any other further tips that would be helpful for the user. Once you've done that for all categories and you're ready to generate the JSON, you go back to this same bar, the export import, select export UNFCCC. If I select cancel, it goes back to my manager. I have the 2 data sets, but I only want to select this data set, COP29, and I generate the JSON. As I said, you can do it for a sector. You can do it for certain tables. You can do it for a category. And then I say, maybe I only want to do 1990. I don't want to transfer 1991 through 1993 to the UN. So I select which years, and I select OK. And that saves the file to your computer, and then you would take that to the UNFCCC ETF reporting tool for upload. So that's about it on the demonstration. I would just say that we are around today, Monday and Tuesday, and we are very happy to help anyone who has questions, wants to download the software, has particular challenges that they have, and I'm coming. But we're very happy to help.
Thank you, Lisa. Now I guess we have 3 more slides on what's next. Slides, yes, after the live demonstration. Next slides. Okay, yes. What we are going on. We are working still with the UNFCCC on a few issues about the interoperability. You know, UNFCCC is fixing the reporting tool, so we are making some fix, but very minor work. Of course, we are very interested and committed to respond to any question from users, including from interoperability for what concern, of course, our software. We cannot address problem in the UNFCCC ETF. And for any problem in UNFCCC ETF, you shall contact UNFCCC. Contacting us is not the good way to go. Then, what is still work to be done? Said at the beginning, uncertainty analysis is still to be developed. The goal is to have both approaches, 1 and 2. Now we have a simplified approach 1 only. Key category analysis will be adjusted accordingly, because you may have approach 1 and 2. For approach 2, you need an uncertainty analysis developed. So after the uncertainty analysis, we should also improve the key category analysis. User guidebook, we are still working on land 3B and 3C, and on some of the IPO elements, especially 2F. We will do it for IPO. I expect we may release the final guidebook just at the beginning of next year. For land, maybe it will take a couple of months more. We want to work on some exercises, step by step, like Lisa did, possibly at least with PowerPoint, and then maybe with also videos. And then we are working, because the land representation is the most data intensive elements of a greenhouse gas inventory. Is the one that most countries are struggling, including developed countries. We are working on some tool that support it. The work on the tool, however, is not made just by ourselves, it's made with partners. So we are very chained to the speed of work of the partners, and is a little bit delayed. I hope to produce something. The goal for the add-on is to have another piece of software that allow the user to collect the data on screen for their land cover in the country, transform this land cover in land use data, in land use matrices, land use change matrices, and then in a consistent land representation, including the calculation of the uncertainty associated. We have all these in Excel, but it's not automatic, so I mean, it's not the way to go. Anyhow, given the big delay, we are thinking also to develop an Excel-based tool that may do this. Of course, cannot collect the data, the screen, but once you have the data, this Excel-based tool should allow you to transform land cover, land use data in a land representation, which is not banal at all. I mean, the land representation is not just you have some land data and you input those. You need to work on this data to produce a consistent time series. Next one. Key takeaways of this presentation is that the IPCC Inventory Software is the tool to apply the IPCC guidelines in a semi-automatic way. The software populates, you've seen the UNFCCC reporting tables in a very easy two-step. First, you prepare the inventory, and then you download the inventory and you upload it, the two steps. You may be confident that the estimates are consistent with all the reporting requirements. If there is any problem, you write us, we fix the problem. We provide support to the user. The guidebook is a big support. We also we expect to work with some capacity building organization to produce some material. We don't do capacity building, but we may produce material to support the user. So the use of a single tool ensure coherence among the various elements under the UNFCCC where anthropogenic emissions and removal do matter. Again, the greenhouse gas inventory, the NDC, Article 6, they may be all integrated in a single tool. And it's a tool that is a continuous work in progress. We continually improve. Improving doesn't mean that you need to re-enter all the data. Each new version is fully compatible with the previous, so you just update the database to the new version. Sometimes you may be asked to input some more data, but this is not necessarily true. I mean, for the moment, no. We don't expect to have this kind of updates. Okay. Something that we want to launch, hopefully in January, is the community of users. One difficulty we have is to reach the user of the software. We don't know all of them. We receive some questions, but we have also, sometimes we want to inform them about the new release of the new version. We want to have some feedback of some elements. We may also try to work on some beta version that we deliver to the community to get feedback. Is a kind of testing, and then to improve. All the software companies usually do that. So if you want to be part of this community, write to us at this email address, write to us at any email address, but this is better. And then we will add you to the list to whom we will contact to be part of the community. Then I guess we have the questions, question and answer possibly session for 10 or 15 minutes, depending on time. I guess, yeah. First, probably from the floor and then online. I don't know very well how it works online. But.
There was a question online, Sandro. It was about the price of the software.
Yeah, the software is totally free of cost. It's IPCC, so it's United Nations. It's provided for free to everybody. No any cost attached. Not only, also the guidebook, is everything free, downloadable from the IPCC TFI website.
Yeah, please.
Thank you. Clément Lebergel from the European Space Agency. Thank you for this presentation and this very important software. IPCC is encouraging parties to assess their reporting against observation, against real life condition for this transparency activity. Is it something possible that in the future such observations, models or combination of in situ or satellite greenhouse gas concentration be made available also through this platform?
Indeed, the tool on land representation is a tool that should, on the basis of satellite images, helps allow to collect information on the land cover from free data. Is Google is based on Google Earth. Is FAO, collect Earth from FAO. Actually, we work on two tools. One is CEPAL, FAO CEPAL, and the other collect Earth Google, both with FAO. But there are, the speed is not so. If we are very happy to, if the agency want to work on this tool, want to join the effort, we will be extremely happy because, of course, and then of course there are other applications of satellite for inventors. Now we are working only on that because this is a very important requirement that with data collection on the ground has cost that cannot be, cannot be bad. Only satellite may provide for the data at the cost. At a sensible cost.
Thank you very much. Stephen George, also from the European Space Agency. My question was, does this software tool have any validation of users' input to make sure that what they are reporting on is true?
Allora, it's true. It depends on the activity. If the activity we don't. The review is made by the UNFCCC of the greenhouse gas inventory, so we don't validate the quality of the data. But there are some quality control constraints. I told that when I input a land representation, very often I do input errors. There are three control checks that if the sum of the area is not the one that is your country area, the software says, look, here you have a problem. Here you have a problem. We are working on these 2F mass conservation constraints. There will be three additional, 4 quality check that will alarm you if the numbers that we are putting in, they are meaningless. They don't allow, they cannot be, okay? But we cannot say once the inventory is done, is good or not. That's not our goal.
Dr. Sandro, there is another online question. One of the participants wants to know more about how to download the software.
Yeah, the software can be downloaded in our IPCC. I don't know if Jasmine may go back to the slide with the QR code. Anyhow, IPCC TFI has a website. If you go on the IPCC website, there are all the working groups plus the task force webpage, and there you have the contact. Or you go directly to our webpage, which is NGGIP. You see, this is with this QR code, you go directly on the webpage. Again, it's free. So what is important is that there is also a decision tree there. You look first at the decision tree to see which of the 2 installation packages you need for your computer. Yeah.
Sandro, we have one interesting question online that how companies and businesses can use this software.
Yeah, the software is designed as the guidance for national greenhouse gas inventories. But you may used at the subnet. It's called at the subnational level. That's why I say subdivision. It manage subdivision. The next version, given you will have the possibility to import data for the same category by different users, adding instead of replacing. You may have a number of, I don't know, a company has various offices. Each office may compile its inventory and then transfer to the main office, let's say, and this will be summed up there. Of course, our inventory is for national gas inventory. It means the categorization is not the one of the life cycle assessment of carbon footprinting. So you need somebody that is capable to identify which of the categories of the inventory are relevant. We have done work with the FAO for the agri-food system. So we translated the various activities in the agri-food system. There is a kind of confusion matrix. You know which categories in the inventory are hit by that activity. And then you need to look there, or you need to populate there. So it's not so banal. You need to know which categories of the inventory are impacted by a specific activity, and then you may populate and calculate. You will have always energy. Energy is always there, whatever activity you do. So you will need to compile the relevant energy table and whatever else is relevant. But can be used, yes, of course. Once we've been questioned by a big oil company how to use it, we provided the information. I hope they are using it.
So we can take one or two more questions. We have left with 5 minutes. If someone wants to add or comment on this,
Yeah, please.
Thank you. You mentioned that you have the reporting and you also have the NDC. If you combine them, can you also do some sort of a forecast of the budget?
The software at the moment manage one single database. It cannot manage two databases. However, you may compile. In FAO, I gave a demonstration how to use for Red Plus. She gave a demonstration at ICAT how to use for energy. You produce two sets of data, you compile two databases, you get the results, and outside you do the comparison. Yes, of course, yes. You are sure that also in this case, everything is consistent again.
thank you very much. With this, our session ends today. I'm sure that you have come across the new things about the IPC software, that how it is interoperable and meets the requirements of UNFCCC's enhanced transparency framework and generating tables like CRTs. And our team TSU is very much open to all of you. You can contact them on the email which was reflected in the presentation. We are here at the Split Pavilion for a few more days. You can come here and discuss with us. With this, thank you very much. The session is closed.
Yeah, just appealing, please register for the community user. Will be a very important tool.
Thank you.